Welcome to Dramas, Dreams, and Drollery. My name is Mark. I'm the writer of all works that appear on this channel and the holder of the copyright to all of them. Today I have two short stories for you. The first is about mediocrity, a very unusual topic, one that is generally avoided by writers. Commonplace people and things are dull and uninteresting. They don't grab our attention. But in One Cone Too Many, a mediocre man shatters the bonds of mediocrity. Here is his story. 12 years ago, Larry Cantwell ranked 49th in grade point average among the 99 graduates of Essex High School in Canton, Ohio. At that time, his height of 5 feet 9 inches and his weight of 157 pounds placed him in the 50th percentile of senior males. There was nothing distinctive about his face or form. Neither artists nor photographers regarded him as a worthy subject for creative expression. In the yearbook, he was on nobody's list of most likely to succeed or most likely to fail. Larry's style of life was invariable. Every Thursday night, he watched the hit comedy show on NBC, and every Saturday morning, he mowed Mrs. Franklin's front yard. In short, the young man was a nondescript cipher, a quintessential bromide. You couldn't pick him from the crowd if he wore a pink dress at a wrestling match. Years later, Larry became the assistant manager of a men's clothing store. Every Monday night, he watched the hit comedy on ABC, and every Saturday morning, he took his son Joe to play baseball. Essentially, Larry was still a cipher. But two characteristics often drew eyes in his direction. He now weighed 195 pounds, and he was hopelessly clumsy. Wife Judy cringed at the jokes about Larry's paunch, and when someone broke dishes in the kitchen, she knew whom to blame. There was a link between Larry's weight and his awkwardness. Since high school, he had used his muscles to the minimum. Consequently, he had diminished control of his growing flab. The cause of the weight gain was an addiction to ice cream. Be assured that I'm not using the term addiction with levity. Larry was much more than a dedicated devotee of that sweet frozen food. In truth, he was its slave. At some point, his passion for the product had smashed the bonds of self-restraint. Henceforth, he was incapable of passing an ice cream shop without making a purchase. The man's downward spiral accelerated one Wednesday evening in June. Leaving Palmer's men's shop at 7, Larry stopped at 39 Flavors on his way home. On this occasion, he consumed a quadruple scoop cone of assorted flavors. But after finishing it, his stomach begged for more. An internal struggle ensued. Larry had promised Judy to cut down on the calories, but a glance at the container of butterscotch walnut made that promise irrelevant. He ordered a second quadruple cone with hot fudge sauce on it. While paying the bill, Larry noticed the clock on the wall. It said 7:40. Judy would wonder why he was so late. She might suspect that he had gone to 39 Flavors. The worried man dashed to his car with a cone in hand. On the way home, a cat ran into the path of the vehicle, forcing the driver to swerve. Some of the ice cream fell on his shirt and pants. Now, how could he explain this to his wife? In the garage, Larry changed into old work clothes and placed the items with the ice cream stains into a plastic bag. Meanwhile, Judy was doing her best to keep dinner warm and wondering why her husband was so late. When the late one suddenly arrived in old work clothes, she was agape. "Why on earth are you dressed like that? Where's your suit?" "Oh, I had a little car trouble. Probably the carburetor. I thought I'd fix it." "That's incredible. I've never seen you fix anything. I didn't think you could even change a tire. Couldn't you do it after dinner?" "I suppose so." 2 hours after the family had gone to sleep, Larry sneaked out of bed, went downstairs to the garage, fetched the plastic bag with the soiled clothing, and began to wash them. Unfortunately, the clumsy man stumbled while performing the task. The sound awakened Judy, who feared at first that a burglar might be in the house. Then she noticed that Larry was not in bed. What could he be up to at this hour? Descending the stairs, she heard running water. A peek in the kitchen revealed her husband washing clothes in the sink. Without saying a word, she returned to bed. It was a restless night for the pair. Judy wondered why her spouse would wash clothes at night, and why was he so secretive about it? Larry was feeling guilty. He had broken a promise to his wife. Deep inside, he realized that this craving for ice cream was excessive and that he needed to regain control of himself. Perhaps he should exercise at a gym. When he turned that thought into a vow, he was able to fall asleep. But Larry's vows had short lives. 5 days later, he had a second mishap at 39 Flavors. A passing glance at a container of chocolate and marshmallow sufficed to break down all resistance. Through clumsiness, the man smeared ice cream on his collar. Entering his house later, he held one hand awkwardly over the stain as he greeted the family. Judy said nothing, although she took note of his unnatural action. Later, she saw her husband furtively applying spot remover to the collar of his shirt. A very unpleasant thought passed through her mind. Was Larry trying to remove lipstick? The man of the house came to breakfast next morning in an unusually happy mood. At the table, he made an announcement. "Judy, I've decided to buy a membership at the fitness club." "Oh, that's fine, dear. Might do you good." "Yeah, I need to lose a few pounds." "Do you have any particular health club in mind?" "I thought probably Abs and Thighs. It's on 7th Street, close to my work." Abs and Thighs. I think my friend Edie is a member of that club. "Oh? Well, anyway, I hope you realize that this will force a big change in our daily routine. I plan to go to the gym right after work, weeknights, Monday through Thursday. I won't be coming home until after 10, and of course, I'll have to sacrifice dinner in order to accomplish that. But it's probably for the best. No pain, no gain, as they say." Judy wanted to believe that her husband was reforming, but she had doubts about the seriousness of his scheme. This is a man who lets their son carry the ball and bat to practice because they're too heavy for him. Now he's going to hoist weights for hours. This is a man who always asks for seconds at meal times, and now he's going to forego dinner in order to sweat? How could this plan possibly succeed? 2 days after her spouse's announcement, Judy paid a visit to her friend Edie Del Grasso. "Edie, would you do me a big favor? Larry has just bought a membership at your gym. He's supposed to exercise weeknights Monday through Thursday after 7 p.m. Frankly, I doubt his willpower. but I wouldn't want to say that to his face. I know it's a big imposition, but would you exercise at that hour for a couple of days and then tell me later if he's making a serious effort? Sure, I'll do it. I suppose you'd like me to keep out of sight so that he won't fake a serious workout. Yes, that would be good. Judy was unprepared for her friend's report a few days later. Both Monday and Tuesday, I reached the gym before your husband. I watched him work out. He spent nearly the entire time on an exercise bicycle. Wonderful. Hold on, you haven't heard the full story. On the bike next to him both days sat the most gorgeous brunette you've ever seen. She had a figure the rest of us would die for. Anyway, the two of them chatted away the whole time they pedaled. No wonder Larry wants to work out. Now Judy was really concerned. Lipstick on the collar, clandestine meetings at a gym with a fashion model. What had she done to bring this on? Was there anything she might do to save the marriage? The anxious woman fretted for a few days, and then she went to see her friend again. You've seen the competition I'm facing, and I've seen evidence that Larry is cheating on me. What did I do to create this situation? How can I bring Larry back to me? I don't want to lose him. Well, I can't possibly say how you caused the problem or why Larry is behaving this way. You know much more about your relationship than I do, but I can give you advice on how to get him back. Please tell me. Fight fire with fire. Let Larry think there's another man in your life. When Larry thinks there's another man interested in you, you become more interesting to him. Besides, it kills a man's ego to think that someone else can take his wife from him. He'll fight to defend what he has. I like the idea, but how do I go about it? I think I have the answer. You once met my brother Marty, didn't you? Yes, I think so. He's a pretty handsome man, wouldn't you say? Yes, from what I can remember. We could dangle Marty in front of Larry. You mean your brother would let himself be used as bait? Oh, Marty doesn't have to know what you're trying to do. I'll just bring him around often enough that Larry will start to get suspicious. That should do the trick. During the following month, Marty, whom Larry had never seen in his life, began to pop up often whenever the Cantwells were out together. Usually the man was in the company of his sister. On several occasions, Edie persuaded him to attend functions at which the couple were present. Larry took note of this handsome newcomer and his black Lexus. He also noticed that his own wife seemed to be paying more attention to her appearance. She was buying new dresses and giving more attention to her hair and makeup. Despite these changes, his mind could not yet embrace the idea of infidelity. That is, not until the 4th of July picnic. To this free event at Zeeman Park, Abs and Thighs had invited all of its members and their guests. At Edie's suggestion, Judy asked Larry and Joe to fetch hot dogs and beverages while she slipped away to engage Marty in conversation. The plan called for her to be some distance away, but not out of sight. Regrettably, the scheme neglected to include one important fact. Marty regarded himself as an irresistible Lothario, so the man interpreted Judy's abandonment of her family as an index of her genuine interest in him. When he put an arm around her waist, Judy didn't resist. Out of a corner of her eye, she saw Larry watching them. Suddenly, Marty kissed her. Witnessing that act drove Larry berserk. Abandoning Joe, he raced to the parking lot and retrieved from the trunk of the car the bat used in Saturday's baseball games. Looking sharply about, he spied the beautiful black Lexus. First he smashed the windows, then he battered the body and bumpers. Unaccustomed to such strenuous exercise, he stopped momentarily to catch his breath. At that instant, he spotted a second black Lexus 2 rows away. An awful thought crossed his mind. Could he be attacking the wrong car? He learned the answer almost immediately. 2 enraged and burly men were racing in his direction. Larry dashed to his own car and sped away just in time to avoid a clash. However, in the rearview mirror, he saw a battered black Lexus in pursuit. Larry climbed the ramp to the interstate highway and pushed the accelerator to the floor. But his Chevy Malibu was no match for the Lexus. Within minutes, the pursuers pulled alongside of their target. Larry saw one of the men aim a gun in his direction. By slamming on his brakes, he managed to avoid the bullets that were fired. Nevertheless, the left front fender of the Malibu struck the right rear fender of the Lexus, causing the latter vehicle to spin out of control. It struck a protective wall, rolled over 3 times, and burst into flames. Larry was able to stop his vehicle safely. Days after the incident, Larry learned from police that 3 men had died in the accident. They were the Targello brothers, notorious gangsters from Buffalo. A sergeant told him that there was a large reward for their capture, dead or alive. He suggested that Larry should apply for the reward. 1 month later, the Cantwells received a check for $800,000. Last week, the fortunate pair threw a huge party at their new house. Husband and wife had reconciled their differences after Judy complained about the bad behavior of Marty. The Cantwells have now agreed to exercise at the gym together. Larry's current weight is 169 pounds, and he's slowly winning the battle of the waistline. On Friday nights, he watches the hit comedy on CBS, and on Saturdays, he takes his son to baseball games. But Larry never goes to 39 Flavors. He warns everyone that ice cream is dangerous. Okay, I bet you didn't know that ice cream could be so dangerous. Now we'll turn away from ordinary people to high-tech parents. And you wait just a second while I locate the next story. Okay, high-tech parents are those kind of people who are into all the latest gadgets and who believe they control the world with them in their hands. Here is responsible parents. Dave Hedjuk turned his Lexus SUV into the driveway, pushed the remote control button, and drove into the garage. Turning off the engine, he did a few neck exercises. Then he checked the iPhone before exiting his car. Monday, April 9th, 1998, 8 p.m. Another 14-hour day, and the commute to San Diego was only half an hour. 12-year-old Shelley greeted him warmly at the door. "Dad," she shouted excitedly. The big smile revealed her new braces. Dave patted the freckled face and ran an index finger down the ski jump nose. Hearing Shelley's voice, Mona came out of the kitchen and kissed her husband. "Your dinner's in the microwave. Shelley and I had some Kentucky Fried Chicken earlier. We'll sit with you for a few minutes when your meal is ready. Right now, excuse me for a moment. I have to get this suitcase." My flight doesn't go until 11, but the shuttle will come by to pick me up at 8:30. Dave shouted down the hall to his retreating wife. It's that Singapore conference, isn't it? Yeah, and I have a Sri Lanka visit too. Still beside her father, Shelley pleaded, Dad, will you watch The Last Summer with me tonight? It's on CBS at 9. Sorry, honey, but I'm exhausted. Besides, I got at least an hour's work to do. Oh, you never do anything with me. Yes, I do. Don't you remember that we went to the zoo about 3 weeks ago? Yeah, way back then. Myrna plays catch with her dad every afternoon, and Angela's folks take her to the movies every weekend. Sorry, if we want to live in a nice house like this and drive cars like my Lexus and Mama's Cadillac, your mom and I have to work long hours. Mom will be back from the conference next week, and then you'll see a lot of her. Well, that is, at least for a couple of weeks before she goes to New York. Next month, I get a day off for Memorial Day. Maybe we can do something then. Mona reappeared with a suitcase and a carry-on bag. She placed them near the front door. Sit down, Dave, she said before going into the kitchen. A minute later, she returned with a steaming plastic tray. Here's your frozen dinner. Tonight is chicken cacciatore. Want some red wine to go with it? No, I think I'll just have a Coke. Shelley, how about going into the family room for a few minutes? I'd like to speak to your dad alone for a moment. But I want to be with the two of you. I'm sorry, dear, but I really need to speak to him alone. After I've gone, you can talk to your dad all you want. No, I can't. He has to work, and you're going to be gone for a week. I'm sorry, don't argue about it. We don't have time. I'll call you back as soon as we're through. A dejected Shelley went to the family room. Wish we could see more of her, said Dave. Well, she has to learn about the real world and adult priorities. One day she'll understand that what we're doing is for her good. Anyway, what I want to tell you about now is the new high-tech gadget I bought. You'll love it. It's a device to monitor your child's movements so you don't have to worry about their location. It's perfect for us, and especially at this time. With me in Asia for a week, you'll have sole responsibility for Shelley. KidTrack will make your job easy. Whenever the two of you are apart, the device will signal to you her every movement, so you can have peace of mind knowing that she's safe. Things of this sort have been around for quite a while. Scientists use them to study animals that they tag, and law enforcement agents monitor prisoners under house arrest. Now they've adapted the concept for use with children. Of course, they don't insert sensors into the skin or attach leg irons. The gadget is harmless and simple to use. Take a look. Mona removed the device from a pocket. Shelley will wear this part around her neck. It's just like an ordinary necklace, except that it contains a chip that emits a continuous signal. The tiny box is a receiver that you will carry. Not only will it show the location of the building she's in, but the rooms within the building. For example, here's the layout of our house on the screen. Note that when I push the blue button, a red light appears along with a message saying, dining room. Isn't that wonderful? At the end of the day, you can even get a printout of Shelley's movements for the entire day. But how can we be sure that she'll wear it? We're not going to tell her that we're tracking her, are we? No, I'll put it on her and tell her to wear it. She's a good girl. That won't be a problem. Until I return from Asia, Mrs. Adams will take Shelley to school every day and bring her home after school. That lady is very reliable. You just need to make periodic checks starting about 3:30 every afternoon. Should be easy. Shelley got 10 minutes of Mother's time before the shuttle departed, and half an hour of Dad's time before going to bed. For over 2 hours, she lay in the dark, brooding about her plight. She felt frustrated and rebellious. In the morning, Dave left for work at 6. Saying goodbye, he reminded his daughter to wear the necklace and to lock the house at 7 when Mrs. Adams arrived. As the Lexus drove away, the young girl was holding her pet cat, Cleo. To the animal, she muttered, "They want me to wear this ugly thing. It would look better on you." Saying these words gave Shelley an idea. She removed the necklace and placed it around the neck of the animal. Noting that it hung loose, she doubled the necklace and secured it with a ribbon. "There, now you look wonderful. Mom and Dad said I was supposed to wear it, but they didn't say how long. You can borrow it for the day, and I'll take it back before Dad comes home." As the hour approached for Mrs. Adams, resentment grew in Shelley against her parents' neglect. When the familiar beige minivan arrived for the pickup, the girls walked slowly to it with a gloomy expression on her face. "Sorry, Mrs. Adams, but I don't feel well today. I'm not going to school." "But you can't stay here all alone." "My parents know all about it. I think someone's supposed to come and check on me." "Well, if you're sure it's all right with your parents." As she watched the minivan turn the corner and disappear, Shelley jumped for joy. She had a whole day in which to do whatever she wanted. After discarding a few ideas, she hit upon what seemed like a true adventure. She would take the red trolley car from her town of Chula Vista and go to Mexico. The border was only half an hour away. From her piggy bank, Shelley extracted the $35 that she had been saving. Before leaving the house, she got a jacket and filled a paper bag with an apple, a banana, and some nuts. The young girl crossed the border by walking directly behind an American couple to give the impression that she was with them. The maneuver succeeded. Shelley thrilled to think that she was all alone in Mexico, but now she was unsure what to do. For a while, she window shopped in downtown Tijuana. Then curiosity led her into a bar. When a drunk man groped at her, she ran outside. He laughed and shouted as she ran away, "Vuélvete, chiquita." About 11 o'clock, Shelley had a lunch of fruit and nuts. She needed to use a restroom, but she couldn't find one, and unable to speak Spanish, she couldn't ask questions. Out of desperation, she looked for an isolated spot. The search took her far from the commercial center and into a seedy residential area marked by crumbling shacks with corrugated tin roofs. There she managed to relieve herself in a dirty alleyway. Afterwards, Shelley discovered that she was lost. In her anxiety to find a restroom, she hadn't paid attention to landmarks. Now she didn't know how to get back to the center or the border. A little panicky, the girl walked fast, choosing streets at random. Nothing looked familiar. At one corner, Shelley came upon a group of 5 young men smoking cigarettes. She realized that they were talking about her. Feeling uncomfortable, she started to walk rapidly in a different direction. One of the men ran after her and grabbed her by the arm. In English, he said, "Wait, are you lost? I can help you." The girl didn't know if she should trust this man. And then he said, "You're American, aren't you? Can I find your parents?" Shelley decided it was best to pretend that her parents were nearby. So she said, "Yeah, they're around here somewhere." The man led the girl back to his group and began speaking to them in Spanish. Shelley felt very uneasy. Suddenly the man turned to her and said, "My name is Felipe. I'm going to take you to a house where you can sit down and rest. We'll call the police from there. They can locate your parents." Shelley didn't know what to do. The man was talking nicely, but she didn't like the smiles on the faces of the other men. But what else could she do? The group took her to a shack that was a little larger than most in the neighborhood. They seated her at a dirty table and gave her a glass of water. While two men stayed in the room with her, Felipe and the others went into an adjoining room. Shelley could hear a heated discussion. A scrawny dog with sad eyes brushed against her leg. She tried to pet him, but he ran away. In a couple of minutes, a fat woman emerged from another room. She took a quick look at the girl, exclaimed, "Dios mío," and disappeared. More loud talk. Finally, Felipe and the other men returned and sat beside her at the table. "What is your name?" asked Felipe. "Shelley Hedjuck." Did you call the police?" Yes. But to locate your parents, we have to know their names. My dad's name is David and my mother is Mona. What is your address? Why do you have to know that? The police are asking. 1071 East Street, Chula Vista, California. Tell me about your parents. Are they very rich? Yeah, I guess so. How rich? I don't know. What sort of cars do they drive? My dad drives a Lexus SUV and my mom a Cadillac Escalade. Felipe translated this conversation for the onlookers, who murmured and smiled. What are your parents doing here in Tijuana right now? Shelley struggled for an answer. Finally, she said, actually, my mother has gone to Singapore on business, but my dad's here in Tijuana. He's making a big deal with wealthy people. How interesting. Felipe translated again. The onlookers exchanged smiles and whispered comments. Sounds like your parents are very rich. Well, don't worry. We are going to take good care of you until the police come. Of course, you should understand that in Tijuana, the police are sometimes a little slow about things. For a 12-year-old, Shelley was unusually skillful at making inferences. Questions about her parents' wealth and the suggestion that the police might be slow to act made her very suspicious. A frightening thought crossed her mind. Felipe got pen and paper and began to write a letter. Shelley tried to read it, but the writer pulled it away. When the envelope had been sealed and addressed, the young man handed it to a companion, apparently for mailing. In a rush to leave, the courier dropped the envelope on the floor. Shelley stole a glance before the man could pick it up. Hey, that letter is addressed to my folks. Why are you writing to them? To let them know that you are well in case the police fail to locate your father today. You wouldn't want them to worry, would you? No. Despite her reply, Shelley assumed that the men were mailing a ransom note. She had to escape. But how? Assuming the girl had not eaten lunch, Felipe told the fat woman to fix some food for her. While munching on a taco, the girl surveyed the room for an exit. 3 or 4 men remained beside her. To run would be useless, and they had given her no silverware that might be used as weapons. Suddenly, Shelley realized that the shack appeared to lack a bathroom. As soon as she had finished the taco, the captive asked to use the toilet. Felipe instructed the woman to show her the way. The girl was led outdoors to a foul-smelling latrine used communally by several families in the area. Constructed of rusting tin, the structure was loosely held together. Inside, flies and wasps buzzed about. The woman stood guard while Shelley entered. Once inside, the girl noticed the flimsiness of the walls. Quietly pushing apart two of the metal panels at one end of the room, she managed to squeeze through the opening. A grassy strip separated her from a fence. Shelley had little trouble wedging her body through a hole in the rickety barrier. She was on a dirt road, free of her captors. The girl ran as fast as possible until her body refused to continue. Sweating and gasping for air, she hid behind some bushes to give herself time to recover. This rest also caused the girl to consider her plight. She was in an alien and dangerous land with no way out. Shelley broke down in tears. Hearing her cry, an elderly woman of the barrio sought the source of the tears. She was surprised to find a young American girl in her neighborhood. "Oh, what is the matter, little girl?" The unexpected voice startled Shelley, who thought she was still hidden from view. "I can't find my parents. I want to go home, but I don't know how." "Where you live?" "In Chula Vista, California." "Come with me quickly. I can help you." Those had been the words of Felipe not so long before, so Shelley was skeptical. Noting her distrust, the woman tried to reassure. "You know what a coyote is?" Yes, it's a kind of animal." "Yes, but that is not what I mean. A coyote is also a person who helps other people get to America. One of my sons, Jose, is a coyote. In about 1 hour, he will take many people to California. You can go with him." "I can? But you must come quickly now." Shelley made the decision to trust this woman. She followed her to a nearby house. There, the woman began speaking Spanish very rapidly with a man Shelley assumed to be Jose. Obviously, the man did not like what the woman was telling him. He objected strongly. Finally, he gave in. The coyote placed the girl in the back of a van already packed with about 30 people. Shelley smiled and waved at the old woman before the door shut. Inside the vehicle, the temperature was hot. The stale air bore the odor of unwashed bodies. Being near the door, Shelley was fortunate to catch a little air coming through a crack. As the vehicle bumped along a dirt road, a baby in the back of the van started to cry. They drove for more than an hour before the vehicle halted. Opening the rear door, the coyote signaled for all to be quiet as they descended. Luckily, the baby had gone to sleep by this time. The group was led to a high metal fence. Using tools, the coyote and the driver cut an opening through which everyone passed. In single file, they walked along a well-worn path until they reached a road. Everyone hid in bushes momentarily, awaiting the coyote's signal to cross. The signal was given at a bad moment. About the time the middle of the file was crossing, a U.S. Border Patrol truck came racing down the road towards them. Sirens blared and voices magnified electronically ordered the group to surrender. A man standing beside Shelley took out a revolver and started shooting at the agents. The border patrolman returned the fire. Hiding in some weeds, the American girl heard a bullet whiz past her. The panicky aliens began running in all directions, but the government quickly had them under control. Only one illegal had been shot. The others surrendered meekly. Within 20 minutes, a second vehicle took them away. Shelley was too scared to stand up and reveal herself. She knew that she was in California and that these agents were American. What she didn't know was whether she would be in trouble. After all, she was crossing the border secretly just like the other people. Maybe they'd put her in jail too. She decided to wait until everyone had left the site. Then she'd find a way to get home. By the time the agents had departed and she had the courage to stand up, The afternoon was well advanced. Shelley could tell from the position of the sun that she must go in its direction along the road that ran parallel to the fence. She waited for half an hour until a different Border Patrol vehicle appeared. When it stopped, Shelley's heart sank. They're going to arrest me, she thought. The lone driver got out of the truck. What are you doing out here, young lady? This is no place to be. I got lost. I'm just trying to get home. Where do you live? Chula Vista. Huh, that's a long way to walk. You'd better hop in. I'm headed for National City. I can drop you off on the way. While driving, the man lectured the girl about the danger of being in the immediate vicinity of the border fence. You won't believe it, he said, but sometimes there's shooting in that area. When the man left her at home, Shelley promised to be more careful in the future. It was only 7:30, but the girl was exhausted from her day's adventure. Before going to bed, she removed the necklace from Cleo and put it around her neck. Father Dave still wasn't home from work. 6 days later, Mona returned from Asia. She'd had a very successful business trip. In the evening, after Shelley had gone to bed, Mama and Papa Hedjuk talked about their little girl. When Mona started to ask how things had gone in her absence, Dave excused himself momentarily. He returned holding a letter in one hand. You gotta see this, he said. Mona read the letter. What does this mean? I don't know. Some sort of Mexican scam, I guess. They probably mail thousands of these ransom demand notes to households all over Southern California. If just one family doesn't know the whereabouts of their child, they're in business. Boy, did they pick the wrong family when they sent the letter to us. Not only did we know where Shelley was, we have a record of her activities for every minute of the past week. So the device worked great, huh? Perfectly. I knew exactly where she was. The one thing that puzzled me is that on the day you left, she spent all her time on the service porch. Aside from the washing machine and dryer, all that's there is the cat food dish and the litter box. I wonder why Shelley found that interesting. Who knows? Who can figure kids? You know, when you think about it, it's really sad that some parents are so irresponsible that they don't know where their kids are. Thank God we're not like that. End of story. I don't recommend that you consult the Hedjuks for advice on how to manage children. Thank you for watching Dramas, Dreams, and Drollery.